Ever hesitated to pursue something because you felt like someone else was already doing it better? Or maybe you've been paralyzed by the fear that your voice doesn't matter, that your story isn't powerful enough to make a difference. I know that feeling all too well. It held me back for years, and it's something I had to confront head on before starting this podcast. I had to learn that my voice matters and that my story can make an impact. And that's why I'm here today to talk to you about why your story matters too. I didn't always believe my story had any power. For years, I was convinced no one would want to hear it and that I had nothing of value to offer. To be completely transparent, the thought of speaking in front of people terrified me. Fear had such a strong grip on me that I didn't even consider it. I'd sit back watching other people share their journeys and think, good for them, they're so brave. But I never imagined I'd be doing it myself. It took a long journey and a lot of self-reflection to realize that my story could help others, perhaps even you. If you're feeling like your voice doesn't matter, I hope my journey will help you see that it absolutely does. Things started to shift for me after attending a personal development conference in Dallas. This wasn't just any event for me, it was a life-changing experience. During one of the sessions, I shared a small piece of my story, and after the session, someone asked me a question that I'll never forget. Why don't you have a podcast? The words hit me hard, like a lightning bolt. It was such a simple question, yet it planted a seed of possibility. For the first time, I began to consider that maybe my story had value. Maybe it could actually help someone else. But I was still too afraid to act on that possibility. Fear kept me frozen. Less than 6 months later, I attended another conference. And this time, something shifted within me. As I shared more of my journey, I saw firsthand how my story resonated with others. People came up to me, they shared how my words inspired them, and in that moment, I realized something crucial. I wasn't just sharing my story for myself. I had a responsibility to share it for the person who might need to hear it, for the person who felt like they were at the end of their rope. That realization gave me the strength to push past my fear. If my story could help even one person believe that they too could overcome their struggles, I had to step out of my comfort zone and take action. Through all of this, my faith has been my anchor. And when I say that, I'm not only talking about starting this podcast. I mean through every single dark moment, through the trials and the heartbreaks that life has thrown at me, going back to the most difficult times in my life. I remember standing at a crossroads, knowing that I could either turn away from my faith or lean into it. If I turned away, I feared I'd be lost forever. So I made the decision to lean in. Even today, I still wrestle with self-doubt and imposter syndrome. Some days I wonder if I'm enough or if I even belong in the rooms I find myself in. But in those moments, I remind myself of the quiet voice that tells me, you are worthy. Your story matters. That voice is what fuels me to keep going, to keep moving forward, even when the doubt tries to creep in. So if you've ever struggled with doubt or wondered if you're worthy of living out your purpose, know that you're not alone. Lean into your faith, whatever that looks like for you. The name of this podcast wasn't chosen lightly. Unshakable belief is what has carried me through my hardest times. I believe that each of us is here for a specific purpose, even if we can't always see what that purpose is. This podcast isn't just about the struggles we face. It's about how we rise from them, how we learn to live with purpose, and how faith becomes the guiding light that keeps us going. For me, living in purpose means showing up and doing what I believe my Creator has planned for me. It means impacting the lives of the people I'm meant to serve. That's the heart of this podcast, Unshakable Belief. It's here to remind you that you too are designed for a purpose. And when you stay the course, when you don't give up, you fulfill that purpose in ways you may never have imagined. I'm a firm believer in the incredible power of stories. Stories connect us. They remind us that we're not alone. When we hear that someone else has faced similar challenges and made it to the other side, it ignites a spark of hope in us. That's what I hope this podcast will be for you. A place where you can come listen to real stories from real people who have faced unimaginable challenges and feel encouraged. In the coming episodes, you're going to hear from people like Brooke Hemingway, Amberly Lago, Erica Rothenberger, Ian Bowen, Dana Grant, and Pastor Ed Newton. Each of these individuals has overcome tremendous odds, and they're now living lives of purpose and impact. They'll be sharing not only their stories, but also the actionable steps they took to keep moving forward. We'll cover topics like resilience, mental and physical health, imposter syndrome, faith, and finding purpose. Each story is unique, yet they all hold the same promise. We can rise from our struggles stronger than before. I truly believe that each of us was designed for a specific plan. But here's the thing, pursuing that plan doesn't always feel comfortable. Living in purpose often means stepping out of our comfort zones, taking those terrifying first steps into the unknown. It's about stretching beyond what we think we're capable of. For me, living in my purpose means sharing my story, even when it scares me. And I believe the same is true for you. So if you're feeling stuck, if you're afraid to take that next step, I want you to ask yourself, what small action can I take today to move towards my purpose? Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's a conversation you've been putting off. Or maybe it's just acknowledging that you have a purpose. Whatever it is, take that step today. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with this thought. Your story matters. The world needs your story, your voice, and your unique perspective. So I invite you to join me on this journey. Each week, we're going to dive into the challenges we face, the resilience we build, and the faith that keeps us moving forward. I'm so excited to share these conversations with you. I can't wait for you to meet the incredible guests I have lined up. So subscribe to the podcast, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to living your purpose. You were designed for something great, and your story has the power to change lives. Thank you for joining me today. Let's rise together and live with unshakable belief.